Good day, folks. I'm Eric Booker, and welcome to yet another edition of the Southland Post. And today I'm joined with Anita Chlipala, who is the owner of Relationship Reality 312, where her mission is to provide singles and couples with tools to foster lasting and loving and passionate relationships, right?
That is correct.
Indeed. Well, thank you, first of all, so much for joining me today.
Thanks for having me.
All right, so let's first talk about some of your experience as a licensed marriage and family therapist.
Yes, so I have been doing it for 10 years.
Yep.
I have a master's degree in marital and family therapy from the University of San Diego.
Okay.
And then I really missed Chicago, so I moved back. I became licensed and started my own practice. And I saw a lot of couples initially where I just started seeing the same problems over and over again. And then I wondered how I could prevent those problems from happening. So that's when I started looking and helping my singles so that they could pick better while they're dating and, not get a divorce.
Yeah, of course. Well, I'm sure that's why, our viewers have tuned in. And so let's get right down to it.
Sure.
Let's start at the very beginning. Is it realistic for someone to have in mind that perfect man or that perfect woman?
Only if they want to stay single forever.
Oh,
because
okay.
the perfect person does not exist.
Okay.
And one thing that I find my clients, or even other people that I meet, one thing that they say to me is, I'm picky.
Okay.
And so I'm picky means, potentially unrealistic expectations.
Okay.
And so I really encourage my clients to date some maybes where they can kind of expand their type or who they normally go for,
Okay.
because someone else may be able to surprise them. And
Okay.
so, for example, like if people say, well, I don't want to date someone who's divorced, so they, like if they're online dating, they might omit people who are divorced from their search engine or their search criteria.
Okay.
But then if they were to meet someone who was divorced in person and loved his or her personality, then they'd be like, oh, I could totally see myself with this person. And then that would have been maybe a maybe or a no, but now they're giving them a chance.
So then maybes it's not considering settling.
No.
It's just more inclusive of other possibilities.
I'm a
Yes?
huge advocate of not settling.
Okay.
But
okay.
sometimes I feel that my, especially my clients, the ones that I do my date coaching with, is that they have such rigid expectations or they want so many
course.
things, and that it's impossible to meet someone who can potentially meet everything that you're looking for on your list. And so I encourage them to be a little bit more flexible.
Okay.
And really pick like the non-negotiables or the things that are super important, and then be willing to, negotiate or compromise on the rest, because you're not going to get everything in one person.
Okay. So in any of your sessions, have you ever heard this phrase, there's always someone better?
All the time.
All right. Fact or fiction?
Well, it's fiction because there's not always going to be someone better.
Okay.
And this is a lot of what I learned from my couples work, where you could have two people that have very similar values, or dreams and goals, but ultimately they're still not going to see eye to eye on one issue or on several issues. And it doesn't mean that there's anything wrong or that they're not compatible, but it just means that you're human and you're different, and you have to learn how to negotiate those differences. So when I give that kind of information or teach that information to my singles, I say, if you don't like one thing about someone, or you think, well, that annoys me, I don't have to deal with this, and then you're going to go find someone better. Or even a lot of my clients, if they start fighting with someone that they're dating, not necessarily fist fights, but just arguing, and there's conflict, and they're like, I don't have to deal with this, I'll go find someone better. It's like, well, not necessarily. If you don't know how to compromise with the person that you're with, it's not necessarily going to happen just because you find someone else.
We've identified someone who is the person that's going to lead us to relationship bliss, right? All right. So what is the next step at that point then?
Well, I would still caution clients or people watching to take your time.
Okay.
Because, if you first meet someone, you are in the infatuation stage, and you feel things like longing, desire, butterflies, and you want to always be around that person. Well, the thing is that infatuation only lasts on average for about 12 to 18 months.
Okay.
And the critical period when you first meet someone is the first 3 months.
Okay.
Because a lot of people can crash and burn during that time, because the infatuation is so powerful and so intense, and they're blinded by love, or what they feel is love, and then the relationship doesn't work out and they're crushed.
Okay. So I don't know, maybe it's just me, but I've heard people confuse that with love at first sight.
Right.
Which is actually not factual.
I mean, I'm not going to say that people can't fall in love at first sight.
But it can be confused with infatuation.
Correct, yeah.
Gotcha.
And like research shows that the logical or critical thinking parts of the brain actually shut down when you're in love. And so that's why when you first meet someone,
right.
You overlook blind spots. And they even put people who are in love in functional MRI machines, and the same parts of the brain lit up for people who were in love as people who were high on cocaine. And so it really is like a drug.
All right, let's shift gears just a bit.
Yeah.
All right, so one of the more common fears, and I don't know, it may be more common in women than men, you tell me, but that's the fear of rejection. So what do you say to people who, foster this fear of rejection when they are on the dating scene?
Yeah, that's a big one that I see across both sexes. I think feeling rejected, and I don't know if anything's more vulnerable than dating,
right.
especially in Chicago.
Of course.
But I try to tell my clients, it's like no one has escaped hurt. I haven't. I don't think you have. And whenever I do my dating workshop, I always ask the question, how many of you have avoided being hurt in love? No one raises their hand. And so I try to remind my clients of their resilience. Like, look, you have been hurt. It's okay. It doesn't mean that you have to stop dating or stop putting yourself out there, stop being vulnerable, because you've survived. And it is really the payoff for love is so amazing that when people are so scared of rejection, they put up a wall, and then the one thing that they seek, that kind of connection with someone, they're actually not giving it to themselves because of the wall. And so just reminding yourselves that you're resilient, you've been burned before, and you've survived. And, if things don't work out, especially when you first start dating someone, is to not take it personally, because it helps you to not be so rejected.
Because some people have like this ideal person in their mind, but it's not necessarily what they need.
Right. But Eric, do you know people who date according to what they need? Because I think most people date according to what they want.
Okay.
I want a guy who's 6 feet tall.
Right,
I want a woman who has this kind of job, or they live in the city, not a suburb. They look for what they want, but they don't really look for what they need. But I always tell my clients that there's no such thing as a perfect fit, because then if you're looking for that perfect person, you can totally eliminate a lot of good potentials. And so I just encourage my clients to look for a good fit.
Okay.
Someone that can still work well for them, and it doesn't mean that they're settling. But I think in terms of what you're, bringing up about needs, is people have to know what their needs are, be able to ask for them, and then see if their date responds in a positive way to get them met.
All right, we're talking relationship tips with Anita Chlipala. She is a licensed marriage and family therapist, and we're going to take a quick break. But when we come back, we're actually going to talk online dating. So all you cyber singles out there, stay tuned, and we'll be right back after these messages.